If I told you that every time you compare yourself to someone, you are committing an act of violence against your own soul, would you think I'm exaggerating? Stay with me until the end, because I'm going to reveal to you why this compulsion to measure yourself against others is the cruelest prison there is, and how you can free yourself from it forever. Before we dive into this conversation that could transform how you see yourself in the world, subscribe to this channel. Not to feed my ego, but because every person who stops comparing themselves and begins to blossom in their own uniqueness becomes a force for liberation in this ranking-obsessed world. You will be part of a revolution of human beings who choose to celebrate their differences instead of suffering because of them. My dear friend who suffers from comparing yourself, first, I need to tell you something that may deeply relieve you. This compulsion to measure yourself by others is not your fault. You have been trained for this since birth. Since you were little, you've been asked, who got the best grade in the class? Who's the prettiest? Who has the most toys? As a teenager, who's the most popular? Who dates first? Who goes to the best university? As an adult, who earns the most? Who has the biggest house? Who has the perfect relationship? You grew up in a society that turned life into a perpetual competition, where there's always someone winning and someone losing, where you can only feel good if you are better than others, where your happiness depends on the unhappiness of others. But here's the tragedy. In this game, even when you win, you lose, because there's always someone better. There's always a next level. There's always a new category to feel inferior to. And worst of all, you've come to believe that your value as a human being depends on where you are in this infinite ranking, as if you were a product on a shelf competing for attention and approval. Now I will destroy an illusion that is at the root of all your comparative suffering. There is no hierarchy among human beings. This is a social invention, not a natural truth. In nature, you don't see a rose comparing itself to a sunflower and saying, "Gee, he's bigger than me. I must be an inferior flower." You don't see a river feeling bad about not being the ocean. Every element of nature expresses its unique essence without measuring itself against the others. But we humans have created this artificial system where people are more valuable or less valuable based on completely arbitrary criteria. More money, more followers, more standard looks, more academic achievements. And here's the absurdity. These criteria change with time and place. What makes you superior in one culture makes you inferior in another. What was valued in your youth is despised today. You are suffering because you don't fit into standards invented by people who don't even know you exist. Even worse, you're trying to win a game where the rules were created to make you lose, because a system based on comparison needs the majority to feel inadequate to work. I'm going to tell you about a subtle poison you may not even realize you're drinking: envy, disguised as inspiration or motivation. You follow people on social media and say it's for inspiration, but honestly observe what happens in your mind when you see that perfect life. You feel smaller, inadequate, like you're behind in life. You look at other people's successes, and instead of feeling pure joy, you feel a pang in your chest. A voice whispers, "Why isn't it me? What's wrong with me? When will it be my turn?" That's not inspiration. That's voluntary self-torture. It's like paying for a ticket to see a movie where everyone is happy except you. And there's something even crueler. When you finally achieve something, you can't feel pure joy because your mind immediately goes to the next comparison. Okay, I achieved this, but so-and-so achieved that. You steal your own happiness with endless comparisons. Envy is like drinking poison and hoping the other person will die. It doesn't hurt the person you envy. It hurts only you. While you are consumed with the lives of others, your own life slips through your fingers. Now I'm going to tell you something that could revolutionize how you see yourself. Your uniqueness is not an accident. It's your superpower, but you've been conditioned to see it as a flaw.
You have a unique combination of experiences,
talents, perspectives, and wounds that no one else in the universe possesses. Your way of seeing the world, your way of feeling, your way of creating, that is your unique gift to humanity. But you spend your life trying to be a bad copy of other people instead of being an original version of yourself. It's like taking a rare diamond and trying to turn it into a common stone, because everyone has a common stone. When you compare yourself, you are wasting your life energy trying to be someone you are not, instead of discovering and developing who you really are. It's like planting a mango seed, hoping it will grow into a pineapple. Your mission in life is not to be better than anyone else, it's to be completely yourself. Because when you are authentically you, there is no competition. You are unique in a category of your own. Let me tell you about a pain you may know well, the exhaustion of having to perform your life all the time to feel valid. You wake up thinking, how can I prove today that I'm enough? You choose clothes thinking, what will others think? You post pictures thinking, will this make me look successful? You make decisions based on how they'll sound when you tell others. You've turned your life into a play where you're simultaneously actor, director, and critic. And you're exhausted from playing a character you're not even sure you like. But here's the liberating truth. The audience you think is judging you is too busy judging itself to really pay attention to you. Everyone is so preoccupied with their own performance that they barely notice yours. You're spending endless energy trying to impress people who are spending endless energy trying to impress other people. It's an insane cycle of collective insecurity masquerading as confidence. And in the end, when you die, it doesn't matter if you were the best or the worst in any category. It matters if you were real, if you were kind, if you left the world a little better for having passed through it. I'll tell you about the greatest crime comparison commits against you. It steals your present. It makes you miss the most precious moments of your life. You're at a delicious dinner, but instead of savoring the food, you're thinking about the fancy restaurant so-and-so posted about yesterday. You're in an interesting conversation, but your mind is comparing your social life to others. You receive a compliment, but instead of absorbing the affection, you're thinking about who received better compliments. Comparison keeps you in a timeline that doesn't exist, always in the past regretting what you didn't achieve, or in the future anxious about what you need to achieve to measure up to others. You're never here, now, living your real life. While you're obsessing over other people's lives, your own life is happening without you. Your children are growing up. Your parents are aging. The seasons are changing. Unique moments are unfolding. But you're lost in a mental comparison with people who don't even know you exist. It's like spending your whole life looking out your neighbor's window while your own house burns down. Now, I will teach you the most powerful antidote I know against the poison of comparison. Radical gratitude for what is uniquely yours. When you feel that pang of envy, when the comparison spiral begins, stop immediately and do this. Find 3 things in your life right now that are yours and for which you can feel genuine gratitude. Not grandiose things that would impress others, real, simple things. Yours. The hot coffee you're drinking, the breath that's entering your lungs, the warm bed you slept in, the friend who texted you yesterday. But real gratitude, not forced positive thinking. Stop, breathe, and really feel the privilege of having these experiences.
Let the concrete reality of your life reconnect you with the present. Because here's the secret. When you're genuinely grateful for what you have, you can't simultaneously feel envious of what others have. Gratitude and comparison don't belong together in the same mind. And the more you practice gratitude for your real life, the more you realize that it is already extraordinary. Not extraordinary compared to other lives, but extraordinary in itself. Now, I'm going to teach you something that may seem impossible at first, but is revolutionary when you achieve it. To genuinely celebrate the success of others as if it were your own.
There is a Sanskrit word, mudita, which means empathic joy, the ability to rejoice in the happiness of others. It is considered one of the highest qualities a human being can develop. When you see someone else achieve something you also want, your first reaction is to feel like it diminishes your own chances, as if there is a limited amount of success in the universe, and if others have taken it, there is less left for you. But that's an illusion of the scarcity mind. Success isn't like pizza. Just because someone else takes a slice doesn't mean there's less for you. In fact, it's the opposite. The more people around you flourish, the more fertile the environment becomes for you to flourish too. Try this. The next time someone close to you achieves something incredible, instead of feeling that pang of envy, take a deep breath and say to yourself, "What a joy! If it's possible for them, it's possible for me too. They show me that what I dream of is real and achievable." It may seem forced at first, but it's mental training. You're reprogramming decades of competitive conditioning. You're choosing abundance over scarcity, cooperation over competition. And something magical happens. When you genuinely root for the success of others, you become a magnet for your own success. Positive energy attracts positive energy. I need to tell you about the biggest hoax of our time, the perfect life people portray on social media. You're comparing yourself to carefully constructed lies. That beautiful photo at the fancy restaurant, it doesn't show that the person spent money they didn't have and was anxious all month. That perfect, spontaneous trip, it doesn't show the 3 months of obsessive planning and the 5 arguments the couple had. That relationship goals, it doesn't show that they took 40 photos to get this one, that they fought before leaving the house, and that one is cheating on the other. That inspiring fitness lifestyle, it doesn't show the eating disorders, the anxiety about their bodies, the substances they use to maintain that physique. You're comparing yourself to a highlight reel, an edited and filtered version of reality. It's like comparing your real life to a Hollywood movie. Of course it's going to seem boring. Everyone is only showing the best 10% of their lives and hiding the 90% of struggle, doubt, imperfection, boredom, and common humanity. You are feeling inadequate because your real life doesn't resemble the fiction others sell. Here's the truth. Behind every perfect life you envy is a person just as full of insecurities, fears, and problems as you are. The difference is that they've become experts in personal marketing. Now I'm going to teach you something that can free you forever from the prison of other people's approval. Create your own value system instead of accepting what society imposes. Stop for a moment and ask yourself honestly, are the standards by which you measure yourself really your own? Or did you inherit them from family, the media, peers, culture? For example, you feel bad about earning little money.
But little compared to whom? By what standard? Do you have enough to live with dignity? Can you make free choices? Can you help the people you love? Then maybe you're not poor. Maybe you're just using the wrong yardstick to measure yourself. You feel bad about not being successful. But success at what? Success for whom? If you are kind, if you cultivate healthy relationships, if you find meaning in what you do, if you can sleep peacefully, isn't that success? Create your own definition of a life well lived. Maybe for you it's having time to read, or being able to cook for people you love, or doing work that has meaning even if it pays less, or having energy for your hobbies, or contributing to your community. When you define your own criteria of worth based on who you really are and what truly matters to you, the opinions of others become irrelevant. You stop playing a game where you always lose and create a game where you can always win. I will teach you to use your comparisons as mirrors to discover who you really are. Every envy carries precious information about your deepest desires. The next time you feel envious, instead of beating yourself up for feeling it, ask yourself, what does this person have that I wish I had? And then, more importantly, why do I want it? What would it mean to me? For example, you're envious of someone who travels a lot. But do you really want to travel, or do you want the freedom that these trips represent? The adventure, the status, the escape from routine.
You envy someone who has the perfect relationship. But what do you really envy? The partnership, the intimacy, the feeling of being loved, the emotional security? Every comparison shows you something your soul is asking for. It's as if your envy is an internal GPS pointing you where you want to go. But you're so busy judging yourself for being envious that you miss the direction it's pointing you. Use your comparisons as market research for your own soul. They show you values you may not have known you had, dreams you may have forgotten, aspects of yourself that beg for development. Now, I want to expand your heart to something deeper, compassion for others who also struggle with comparison. Because when you understand that everyone is in this struggle, you stop seeing others as competition and start seeing them as fellow travelers. That person you envy, they probably envy 3 other people. The one who seems so confident on social media, they might be crying from insecurity at home. The one who has achieved everything you want, they might be empty inside, wondering if it will ever be enough. Everyone you know is fighting battles you don't see, carrying insecurities they don't show, dealing with fears they hide, desperately seeking approval while pretending they don't need anyone. When you realize this, something revolutionary happens. You stop seeing people as threats to your worth and start seeing them as vulnerable human beings just like you. Instead of competing, you can collaborate. Instead of envy, you can empathize. Instead of wallowing in your inadequacy, you can connect with our collective inadequacy and find strength in shared vulnerability. This isn't weakness, it's the courage to be human in a world that teaches us to pretend we're perfect machines. Now, I'm going to teach you something fundamental: how to build self-esteem that doesn't depend on being better than anyone else, but on being true to who you really are. The self-esteem you've learned to strive for is fragile because it depends on external factors: how you compare to others, what others think of you, how many achievements you accumulate. It's like building a house on quicksand. Any external change shakes its entire structure.
But there is another kind of self-esteem, rock solid, that comes from honoring your own nature, your values, your unique journey. That comes from respecting yourself regardless of external results. Start asking yourself, am I living according to my values today? Was I kind to myself? Did I treat other people with respect? Did I do my best with what I had available? If so, you can go to bed in peace, whether you achieved something impressive or not. Real self-esteem comes from integrity, from being the same person alone or with others, from doing the right thing even when no one is looking, from honoring your commitments to yourself. When your self-worth comes from within, you stop needing others to fail to feel good. You stop needing to be special or better to feel valuable. You simply are, and that is enough. I'm going to give you concrete tools you can use every day to break the comparison addiction, because it really is an addiction. Your brain has been conditioned to automatically seek out these comparisons. First practice, the digital comparison fast. Once a day, when you pick up your phone to check social media, stop before opening any app and ask yourself, am I doing this to connect or to compare? If it's to compare, put your phone away and do something else. Second practice, the singularity journal. Every day before bed, write down one thing you did, thought, or felt that was uniquely you. Not something impressive, but something authentic. Today, I laughed in a way that only I laugh. Today, I had an idea that only I could have. Today, I comforted someone in my own unique way. Third practice, the mindful celebration. When someone shares an achievement, before feeling any comparison, stop and say, "What a joy!" First out loud, then mentally. Train your mind so that the first reaction is celebration, not comparison. Fourth practice, the inventory of unique blessings. Once a week, list 10 things in your life for which you are grateful that are uniquely yours. Not generic, I have my health, but I have this scar that tells a unique story, or I have this friendship that no one else in the world has. Fifth practice, the meditation of interconnection. When you feel intense envy of someone, close your eyes and imagine invisible roots connecting you to that person. Remember that you are of the same species, on the same planet, breathing the same air. Their victory does not diminish you. You are part of the same web of life.
Now I want to speak to those who carry deep wounds of comparison. Maybe you grew up being constantly compared to your siblings. Maybe your parents only praised you when you were better than someone else. Maybe you were publicly humiliated for not being enough in some area. These wounds are real and deserve to be honored. You've developed the habit of comparing yourself as a survival mechanism, trying to protect yourself from further rejection, trying to secure love and approval. But now you can talk to that wounded part of you. You can say, "Thank you for trying to protect me. I know you thought if I was better than others, I would be safe. But now I understand that my safety doesn't come from being superior to anyone else. It comes from accepting myself completely." Every time you feel that familiar pain of comparison, it's an opportunity to heal something old. It's your soul asking you to finally stop looking outside yourself for the love you need to give yourself. You can transform your wound into wisdom. You can use your experience of feeling less than to develop deep compassion for others who also feel that way. You can use your pain to become someone who never makes others feel inadequate.
I want to expand your mind to a truth that can change everything. There is no shortage of human value in the universe. There is infinite space for everyone to shine without diminishing anyone's light. Think about the night sky. Is there a star that shines less brightly because others shine brighter? Is there one that needs to go out so others can shine? Of course not. The more stars there are, the more beautiful the sky becomes. So it is with human beings. Each person who awakens their unique talents, who lives authentically, who contributes their special gifts, this does not take away opportunities from you. It enriches the world in which you live. When you stop seeing life as a zero-sum competition and start seeing it as a collaborative symphony, everything changes. You realize you don't need to put anyone else down to grow. You don't need others to fail for you to succeed. Indeed, you realize that you live in a world where there is room for all kinds of intelligence, all kinds of beauty, all kinds of contribution. Your only responsibility is to discover and express your unique note in this cosmic symphony. I'll tell you a secret that can completely free you from comparison. Everyone is imperfect. Everyone is improvising. Everyone sometimes feels lost, inadequate, scared. That person you admire so much, they have insecurities you can't even imagine. The one who seems to have everything under control, they sometimes cry in the shower. The one who has achieved everything you want, they have fears that keep them up at night. Imperfection is not a flaw. It's what connects us. It's what makes us human. It's what allows for empathy, growth, and compassion. If you were perfect, you would be unbearably lonely. Your flaws, your struggles, your moments of inadequacy, they don't make you less valuable. They make you relatable. They make you someone others can identify with. They make you part of the human family. When you embrace your imperfection with humor and kindness, when you stop trying to hide your flaws and start laughing at them, something magical happens. You become irresistibly authentic. And authentic people don't inspire comparison, they inspire connection. They don't make others feel small. They make others feel allowed to be real too. Now, I'm going to teach you something that may sound radical, but is profoundly liberating. You don't have to be special to be valuable. In fact, the need to be special is what's making you suffer. Since you were a child, you were told you were special, unique, different from everyone else. And this created an invisible pressure. If you are special, you need to constantly prove it. You need to stand out. You need to be better. You need to justify your specialness. But here's the radical truth. You are simultaneously completely ordinary and completely extraordinary. Ordinary because you share the same basic needs, fears, and longings as every other human being. Extraordinary because your specific combination of experiences, perspectives, and essence has never existed before and will never exist again. You don't have to achieve anything to be worthy of love and respect. You don't have to be the best at anything to be entitled to happiness. You don't have to impress anyone to deserve to exist. When you accept your normality, when you stop trying to be special, something paradoxical happens. You become genuinely unique. Because very few people have the courage to be ordinarily extraordinary.
I'm going to reveal to you now the difference between false self-confidence and true self-confidence. False self-confidence comes from being better than others. True self-confidence comes from not needing to be better than anyone else. False self-confidence is fragile. It depends on external circumstances. If you lose a job, if someone criticizes you, if your plans don't work out, it crumbles because it was built on comparisons and achievements. True self-confidence is unshakable because it comes from something no one can take away from you: your ability to be kind to yourself, to learn from mistakes, to adapt to change, to find meaning even in hardship. A truly confident person doesn't need to put anyone down to feel great. They don't need a stage to shine. They don't need applause to know their worth. They simply are. And this authentic presence is magnetic. Build your confidence on solid foundations: your ability to love, to connect, to grow, to contribute, to forgive, to begin again. These qualities are independent of ranking or comparison. Now I want to talk about something delicate but essential: how to deal with the people in your life who fuel your tendency to compare. Maybe you have that family member who always asks about your personal life to compare it to your cousins. That friend who only talks about achievements to show off. That colleague who turns everything into a competition. You can't control these people's behavior, but you can control how you respond to them. You can create healthy boundaries. You can choose not to entertain these comparison conversations. When someone tries to pull you into the comparison game, you can gently decline to participate. Good for so-and-so. And how are you feeling lately? Redirect to real connection instead of superficial competition. If necessary, you can walk away from relationships that are consistently toxic to your self-esteem, not out of malice, but out of self-care. You have the right to protect your peace of mind. And remember, people who constantly compare themselves and others are suffering. They don't do it out of cruelty. They do it because that's how they've learned to relate to the world. Have compassion, but don't let their pain become your pain. I'm going to teach you something powerful now: how to transform your sensitivity to comparison into a superpower of empathy and connection. If you are someone who feels deeply when comparing yourself to others, it means you have a sensitive heart, a refined ability to perceive emotional nuances. This is not a flaw, it is a gift. You can use this sensitivity to notice when others are feeling inadequate and offer genuine kindness. You can use your experience of feeling less than to never make anyone else feel that way. Your pain can become your medicine. Your wound can become your wisdom. Your vulnerability can become your strength to create authentic connections with others who also struggle with inadequacy. The world needs people who understand how much it hurts to feel inadequate. It needs people who know how important it is to be seen, accepted, and valued. You can be that person for others. Your journey of comparison and self-acceptance can become a beacon for others still lost in this storm. Your healing can inspire the healing of others. Now I want to talk about something you may never have considered: comparing yourself to past and future versions of yourself. You don't just compare yourself to other people, you compare yourself to who you were before. I was younger, more hopeful, thinner, and who you think you should be in the future. By 30, I should have achieved this, by 40, that. This creates an impossible situation where your present self is never enough. The past has been idealized by nostalgia. The future has been idealized by fantasy. And you, real and imperfect in the present, always come out on the losing end of this comparison. But here's the truth. You're not the same person you were 5 years ago, nor will you be the same person 5 years from now.
And that's beautiful. Growth means change. Change means that some things are lost and some things are gained. Instead of judging yourself for not being who you used to be, or for not being who you want to be, celebrate who you are now. With all the accumulated experiences, all the lessons learned, all the wisdom gained through mistakes. Your present self is the only one that truly exists. It is the only one that can act, love, choose, grow. Honor this version of you with all its complexity and imperfection.
I'm going to tell you now about the deepest freedom there is. The freedom of not having to prove anything to anyone, not even to yourself. You've spent your entire life trying to prove that you're smart, capable, attractive, successful, worthy of love. But to whom? To people who have their own insecurities and limitations? To a society that changes its mind every decade about what's valuable? What if you just stopped trying to prove anything? What if you lived as if you already knew you were enough, just as you are? This doesn't mean stopping growing or striving. It means doing it out of joy, out of curiosity, out of love, not out of a desperate need for validation. When you stop living for tests and start living for purpose, everything changes. Your choices become more authentic. Your relationships become deeper. Your creativity blossoms. Your heart opens. You discover that you've always been free. Free to be exactly who you are, to love your way, to contribute your unique gifts, to be happy without needing anyone's permission. Before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with a daily practice that can completely transform your relationship with yourself. The practice of compassionate witness. Every day, for just 5 minutes, sit quietly and observe your thoughts without judging them. When comparisons arise, so-and-so has more than me, don't fight them. Simply observe as a gentle witness. Say to yourself, "Oh, look, my mind is making comparisons again. How interesting." As if you were a curious scientist studying the patterns of the human mind. Don't try to stop comparative thoughts. Just observe them with the same compassion you would for a frightened child. They are there because they once served as protection. Be grateful that they tried to help you. And then gently bring your attention to the present, to your breathing, to the sounds around you, to the sensation of your body in the chair, to the concrete reality of now. Over time, this practice creates space between you and your thoughts. You realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the consciousness observing them. And from this perspective, they lose their power to hurt you. My dear friend who has come this far, I want to tell you something from the bottom of my heart. You are already free. You always have been. The prison of comparison has always been made only of thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. There is nothing wrong with you. There's nothing you need to fix, improve, or achieve to deserve love, respect, and happiness. You already deserve it simply by existing. Your life doesn't need to impress anyone. It just needs to be lived with presence, with kindness, with the courage to be real in a world full of masks. Every moment you choose gratitude over comparison, every time you celebrate someone instead of envying them, every time you treat yourself with the same compassion you would treat a good friend, you are planting seeds of freedom. And one day, you'll realize that you've naturally stopped comparing yourself, not by effort, but because you finally understood a simple revolutionary truth. You are exactly who you're supposed to be, exactly where you're supposed to be, and exactly when you're supposed to be. The only real competition is with yesterday's version of yourself. The only victory that matters is being kinder to yourself today than you were yesterday. The only measure of success that matters is the peace you feel at the end of the day for having lived according to your values. Go in peace, dear friend. You are enough. You have always been enough. And when you finally accept that completely,
you will discover that you have always been infinite. If this conversation touched your heart, share it with someone who also needs to hear it. Not to gain likes or recognition, but because every person who frees themselves from the prison of comparison becomes a light that helps others find their way. And subscribe to this channel, not for me, but for you. Because choosing content that nourishes your soul instead of feeding your insecurities is a quiet revolution. It's a way of saying no to a world that profits from your inadequacy. Until we meet again, remember, you are a unique work of art in an infinite gallery. Stop comparing yourself to others and start shining your own light. The world is waiting for what only you can offer. Namaste. May peace be with you.